Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing another video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and that is a couple of differences between various substances. And I have admittedly experience with some and not others. I want to go into a couple of details that apparently need to be clarified, and I can't believe I'm making this video because I really honestly thought that experience with caffeine and coffee products was common knowledge in pretty much every circle, but turns out it's not actually. And there are a lot of people confused about this right now. I'm very surprised, but I'm going to make the video anyway. So, the difference between stimulants is noteworthy. Not all stimulants are the same. And I think that the biggest opportunity, I'll just get to the point and then I'll explain what I mean, is that one drug does not equal another drug, and that should be obvious. In a bigger sense, an opiate doesn't equal a stimulant, doesn't equal, marijuana, does not equal alcohol. They're all very unique and different substances that have usually predictable effects and very unique and different effects on the body and the mind. So there's this idea going around that drugs are bad. Hopefully that's pretty obviously not true. I mean, it's there. We have what's called symbiosis. We've evolved as human beings, as Homo sapiens. We've evolved to be connected to our environment and to have a shared experience with the plants and animals in our environment, including those which are potentially psychoactive. And you may or may not agree with that, but you don't have to take my word for it. There's plenty of research and history and evidence and anthropological artifacts that show plainly that people have experimented with mind altering stuff for a long time, thousands and if not millions of years. So anyway, point is that depends on the drug, depends on the person, depends on the context, as always, as to the nature and value of it, the practical use of it. I will say that some people have unique sensitivities to certain substances, and that certain substances by themselves are prohibitively addictive, are prohibitively dangerous. And there are things that I personally would refuse and have refused to try just based on the reputation alone and what I've learned about them from, word of mouth and learning in school and that kind of thing, such as most opiates. I have cleverly avoided most opiates because of the insidious effect they have on the brain. And I don't want to make a huge deep dive into all drugs. This is mainly about stimulants and the difference between coffee and methamphetamine, but I do want to touch briefly on how opiates work because it's a point of confusion. So in your brain, you have neurotransmitters, and I do know this because I went to college and I studied biology and some other things, so I can speak with authority as far as what I was told. You have neurotransmitters, including serotonin, dopamine, and other less famous neurotransmitters, and they amount to a cocktail that is always present in your brain in some degree or concentration, some ratio. And the way opiates work is they are molecularly similar enough to the normal chemicals that you find in your brain that stimulate pleasure that your brain can't tell the difference. This is exactly what happens. So you ingest, say morphine, heroin, codeine, Vicodin. These are all opiates or opiate derivatives. And your brain thinks that it's experiencing something pleasurable directly, but it's not. That's the thing. So it's like you're getting a God-given reward, but you gave it to yourself in the form of a chemical. And the problem here is there's a trade-off. There's a huge trade-off. Again, keeping it brief, your brain becomes extremely dependent on this, like in a hurry. Opiates, especially the stronger stuff like morphine, it's widely known that it will take away your pain potentially. That's why they use it in things like Vicodin, or in the battlefield, they had, morphine injectors many times in wars where they would give soldiers these things. If you get your leg blown off, you can inject yourself with morphine and then somehow make it back to the base or whatever. But that's how it works. It tricks your brain into thinking that something good is happening when something good is definitely not happening, with the cost of a crash, a very serious crash usually, and a wild habit that forms very quickly and is very, very hard to break. You can actually go through, if you're not familiar with heroin addicts, they frequently cycle through withdrawals and detoxification where they get flu-like symptoms. They start to shake and sweat, and they throw up, they get sick, like they're actually physically sick with a virus, but it's just withdrawals from this chemical, and it can actually be deadly. In the case of alcohol withdrawals, they call them DTs. It can get so bad that people die from just not drinking. It will kill them if they get past that point. Anyway, to get back to the subject, which is the difference between caffeine and harder stimulants like cocaine and methamphetamine, which has been around for hundreds of years now, there is a very big difference. And this is the part that I'm a little surprised people are questioning or confused about, because caffeine is harmless. I'm going to just go on record and say I have never had anything bad come from using coffee or caffeine myself, with the exception of a minor headache. Okay, so if you're on a daily caffeine routine where you're drinking coffee in the morning to give you that little boost, after say a week or two, in complete honesty, if you just cut off the caffeine for a couple of days, you might experience a headache. Or if you're already prone to headaches, it might make your headaches worse, such as if you are already getting migraines or whatever, it might give you an extra bad migraine. I don't get migraines, but if I did, I could understand if cutting off caffeine was inconvenient. But there's people right now who are confused that they are citing things historically, like how the Nazi soldiers in World War II were given methamphetamine. Turns out it's true. And it had these nightmarish effects on their empathy, their sensitivity, and it did what it was designed to do. It kept them alert and fearless and motivated to fight, but it also had all of the well-known toxic byproducts of methamphetamine addiction. I've never done methamphetamines myself, but I have seen people on it. I've seen people withdraw from it. And if you want to see some crazy people, go look at somebody who's been taking meth for a week, who hasn't slept for a week. You will look at it differently. You will look at people in general differently. I've never seen behavior like this myself, and I don't ever want to. It's bad. It's all bad. So methamphetamine is, in my book, it's too dangerous to support. It's not even in the same category, besides being technically a stimulant, as caffeine. Completely different. But this is the point of confusion, I think. So the beautiful thing, last thing I want to say about coffee products is there's a natural kind of discomfort if you ingest too much of it, where a lot of other drugs don't have this effect. They don't have a natural line where you feel like you maybe took too much. I mean, perhaps they do, but caffeine, you drink 2 or 3 cups of strong coffee, and if you know what I'm talking about, if you've had this experience, you feel over caffeinated and you don't want any more. It stops being helpful, and it's just got this natural boundary. And if you only drink coffee in the morning, like I do typically, it's very rare that I'll have coffee afternoon. It doesn't interfere with your sleep either, because it's out of your system, it's processed and demetabolized by the liver and kidneys within 5 to 8 hours. This is a fact. In human beings, it takes about 5 to 8 hours to completely process whatever caffeine is in your body, normal human dosages I'm talking about. And you shouldn't have any trouble sleeping from caffeine in the morning if you're sleeping at night. And I don't have insomnia. I drink coffee every day, and I like to use myself as an example. I mean, some people are different. So very last thing I'll say, I'm almost at 10 minutes. Some people are physiologically a little bit different. They are more sensitive, or they have allergies, or they're just wired differently. And it is very true that not every drug, even if safe for the vast majority of people, is for everybody. Certain people just can't handle it, and that's okay. It's good to know, what your sensitivities are, and respect those and acknowledge those. I hope everybody has a great day. I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee now. Reach out with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.